Today, we are tackling a stage of parenting that, let's be honest, can feel like a total contradiction: the teenage years. It's this time that's full of so much love, but also maybe a little bit of dread. If you've ever felt that kind of anxiety creeping in, you are not alone. So let's unpack where that feeling comes from and what the research says about the reality of raising a teen.
The popular story out there is pretty dramatic, right? We're all conditioned to believe the teenage years are just a decade of slammed doors, eye rolls, and constant arguments. It's something parents are told they just have to survive. But how much of that is just a stereotype, and what's really going on?
The source material we're looking at today puts it perfectly. It says parents are basically fed these hyperbolic warnings about everything you could possibly imagine. Delinquents, mean girls, you name it. And this whole narrative just sets everyone up to expect the worst, to see it as the scariest decade of their child's life even before it starts.
Okay, so that stereotype of teen turmoil is powerful, for sure. But here's the good news. It's just not what the science shows. The research actually paints a much more hopeful and, frankly, a way more interesting picture of what's happening during adolescence.
In fact, check this out. Study after study finds that the huge majority of adolescents, we're talking well over half, say they have really high-quality relationships with their parents. So this isn't a story about families falling apart. It's a story about how that parent-child connection changes and evolves.
So what's driving that change? Well, it's not rebellion just for the sake of rebellion. The real engine here is a natural, biological, and totally normal push for autonomy. It's a core part of their development. Let's dig into what that actually means.
It's so easy to fall back on the myth, right? To chalk everything up to teenage angst. But the reality is that the relationship isn't breaking, it's just restructuring. This big shift is happening because of massive developments in their brains and their social worlds, not because they have some deep-seated desire to defy you.
So what even is autonomy? It's not about a teen needing to push their parents away to be independent. No, it's this deep need to feel like their choices are their own, that their actions and values are authentic to who they are becoming. And here's the kicker. They want to do all of this while still feeling deeply connected to you. They need both. All right, so if the goal is to support this new drive for autonomy, how do you actually do that? What does it look like on a Tuesday night? Well, the research points to this really powerful combination of three key things: warmth, structure, and connection.
And the evidence on this is just overwhelming. The gold standard, the style that works best, is called authoritative parenting. Now, it's super important not to mix that up with authoritarian, which is all about being a dictator. Authoritative parenting is all about balance. It's high warmth and high support, combined with high structure and clear, reasonable expectations.
Let's break down that structure part a little more. The healthy, helpful kind is what researchers call behavioral control. This is probably what you think of as just parenting, setting curfews, having rules about chores, screen time limits. These are sensible, fair limits that give teens a safe framework to grow in. This is adaptive. This is good. But then there's the other side of the coin, psychological control. And this is the unhealthy, damaging stuff. This is when a parent tries to manipulate their kid's emotions, using things like guilt trips, shame, or even withdrawing their love to make a teen do what they want. It is so harmful because it directly attacks their developing sense of self.
And the consequences of psychological control are serious, and they're really well documented. Research consistently links it to a whole list of negative outcomes, from higher rates of depression and anxiety to disordered eating, aggression, and just lower self-esteem across the board. It basically sabotages a teen's ability to learn how to manage their own emotional world.
Okay, so we have this toolkit: warmth and healthy behavioral control. But what does that look like in the messy, real world? Let's take a look at a couple of challenges every parent is dealing with right now: managing all that media and navigating their kids' social circles.
So, when you're faced with something like their friendships or what they're doing online, you've got two basic paths. The restrictive path is to just lay down the law, ban the game, forbid the friendship. The supportive and much more effective path is all about collaboration. Instead of just banning something, you talk about the content with them. Instead of forbidding a friend, you consult with your teen and problem solve together. And you know what's wild? This collaborative approach is what actually makes them more likely to open up to you, not less.
Okay, we've talked about autonomy, we've talked about parenting styles, different strategies. But what's the one thing that holds it all together? What's the single ingredient that makes all the good stuff work better and protects them from the bad?
I want you to really think about this for a second. Across every single challenge, we're talking media use, peer pressure, driving, you name it.
What do you think is the one factor that consistently predicts a positive outcome for a teenager?
It's that simple, and it's that profound. The single biggest, most important factor is the quality of the parent-adolescent relationship itself.
A warm, supportive relationship is the foundation that everything else is built on. It's not just a nice idea. When that bond is strong, it's directly linked to so many incredible outcomes: lower depression, less aggression, and higher self-worth, better social skills, even higher grades. That connection is the ultimate protective factor.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The authors of the research we've been looking at conclude that across all of their work, the most consistent finding was the absolute importance of the relationship. It makes your good parenting even better, and it can even act as a buffer when things aren't perfect.
So maybe we've all been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of starting with, how do I control my teen? The research points us to a much more powerful question. How do I stay connected? Shifting our focus from control to connection might just be the most important thing we can do. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.